In addition to manipulating elements with jQuery, we can also use jQuery to create new elements and add them to the DOM tree. To do so, we call append on a jQuery object with a string containing HTML. The append method converts the string to a DOM element using the HTML tags in the string and adds the new element to the end of the original one. For example, to add a p element to the end of the page, we could add this to our JavaScript. Body. Append. This is a new paragraph. The first part of this statement uses the function with the selector string body to select the body of our HTML document. The selector string doesn't have to be an ID. The code body selects the body element. Likewise, we could use the code p to select all the p elements. Next, we call the append method on the object returned by body. The string passed to append is turned into a DOM element, and it is added inside the body element, just before the closing tag. Figure 9-4 shows what our revised page would look like. Figure 9-4. OU. Our document with a new element. We could also use append to add multiple elements in a for loop like this. For var I equals 0, I. Var hobby equals prompt. Tell me one of your hobbies. Body. Append. Hobby. This loops 3 times. EA. CH time through a loop, a prompt appears, asking users to enter one of their hobbies. Each hobby is then put inside a set of tags and passed to the append method, which adds the hobby to the end of the body element. TR. Why adding this code to your DOM HTML document, and then load it in a browser to test it? It should look like figure 9-5. Figure 9-5. Extra elements added in a loop. Lots of websites use animations to show and hide content. For example, if you were adding a new paragraph of text to your page, you might want to fade it in slowly so it doesn't appear all of a sudden. jQuery makes it easy to animate elements. For example, to fade an element out, we can use the fade out method. To test this method, replace the contents of the second script element in DOM HTML with this h1.fadeout 3000. We use the function to select all h1 elements. Because DOM HTML has only one h1 element, the heading containing the text Hello World. That heading is selected as a jQuery object by calling .fadeout 3000. On this jQuery object, we make the heading fade away until it disappears, over the course of 3 seconds. The argument to fade out is in milliseconds, or thousandths of a second, so entering 3000 makes the animation last 3 seconds. As soon as you load the page with this code, the h1 element should start to fade away. When you call a method on a jQuery object, the method usually returns the original object that it was called on. For example, h1 returns a jQuery object representing all h1 elements, and h1.fadeout 3000 returns the same jQuery object representing all h1 elements. To change the text of the h1 element and fade it out, you could enter h1.text. This will fade out. .fadeout 3000. Calling multiple methods in a row like this is known as chaining. We can chain multiple animations on the same element. For example, here's how we could chain a call to the fade out and fade in methods to fade an element out and then immediately fade it in again. h1.fadeout 3000.fadein 2000. The fade in animation makes an invisible element fade back in. jQuery is smart enough to know that when you chain 2 animations in a row like this, you probably want them to happen one after the other. Therefore, this code fades the h1 element out over the course of 3 seconds and then fades it back in over 2 seconds. jQuery provides 2 additional animation methods similar to fade out and fade in, called slide up and slide down. The slide up method makes elements disappear by sliding them up, and slide down makes them reappear by sliding them down. Replace the second script element in the DOM HTML document with the following, and reload the page to try it out. h1.slideUp 1000.slideDown 1000. Here we select the h1 element, slide it up over 1 second, and then slide it down over 1 second until it reappears. For example, say you add a new P element to your DOM HTML document after the heading. Try using slide up and slide down to hide and show the h1 element, and see what happens to the P element. What if you use fade out and fade in? What happens if you call fade out and fade in on the same element without chaining the calls? For example, h1.fadeOut 1000, h1.fadeIn 1000. Try adding the preceding code inside a for loop set to run 5 times. What happens? What do you think the show and hide jQuery methods do? Try them out to see if you're right. How could you use hide to fade in an element that's already visible? In this chapter, you learned how to update HTML pages using JavaScript by manipulating DOM elements. As you've seen, jQuery gives us even more powerful ways to select elements and change or even animate them. You also learned a new HTML attribute, ID, which allows you to give an element a unique identifier. In the next chapter, you will learn how to control when your JavaScript is run, for example, once a timer has run out or when you click a button. We'll also look at how to run the same piece of code multiple times with a time delay in between, for example, updating a clock once every second. Try these challenges to practice more things you can do with jQuery and DOM elements. 1. Listing your friends with jQuery and making them smell. Create an array containing the names of a few friends. Using a for loop, create a P element for each of your friends and add it to the end of the body element using the jQuery append method. Use jQuery to change the h1 element so it says my friends instead of hello world. Use the hide method followed by the fade in method to fade in each name as it's provided. Now, modify the P elements you created to add the text smells. After each friend. Hint: if you select the P elements using P, the append method will apply to all the P elements. 2. Making a heading flash. How could you use fade out and fade in to cause the heading to flash 5 times, once a second? How could you do this using a for loop? Try modifying your loop so it fades out and fades in over 1 second the first time, over 2 seconds the second time, over 3 seconds the third time, and so on. 3. Delaying animations. The delay method can be used to delay animations. Using delay, fade out, and fade in. Make an element on your page fade out and then fade back in again after 5 seconds. 4. Using fadeto. Try using the fadeto method. Its first argument is a number of milliseconds, as in all the other animation methods. Its second argument is a number between 0 and 1. What happens when you run the following code? h1.fade to 2000, 0.5. What do you think the second argument means? Try using different values between 0 and 1 to figure out what the second argument is used for. Until now, the JavaScript code on our web pages has run as soon as the page is loaded.